Okay, hello everyone. My name is Penny Thomas, and I am the Education and Outreach Specialist here at LAGERS. And today we are going to talk about the LAGERS Disability and Survivor Benefits. It will not be a very long webinar. This normally takes about 30-35 minutes. It is a real simple explanation of the disability and survivor benefits that enrollees automatically have with LAGERS. So we have about a minute left. We have a few more people that are joining. So I'll just kind of talk about what you need to do if you want to ask a question. Everybody will be muted during this webinar. So if you're wanting to ask a question, I ask that you take your cursor and run it over either the top or the bottom of the screen until you find the Q&A box. Click on that, type in the question if you have one for me, and I'll see if I can answer it. If I'm unable to answer it, I will make sure that I get an answer for you and get back to you via email or a phone call. If there is at some point during the presentation, I will refer to a flyer that we have, or a little explanation sheet that we have that further details the disability process. If you are someone that believes you will be going through this disability process, let me know and I'll go ahead and send you this more detailed informational sheet. Sometimes the webinar doesn't fully go into some of the details that are involved with the process, because it is it's quite the process whenever you go through a disability. Let's go ahead and get into just the overview of the disability and survivor benefits. And that's what this is. This webinar is an overview of LAGERS disability and survivor benefits. So here we go. Okay, so as a part of your LAGERS benefit, this is not something you have a choice to get or elect to not get. It is a part of your LAGERS benefit. So if you are receiving a LAGERS benefit or you are enrolled in LAGERS, you are automatically signed up for the disability and survivor benefits. So, as a part of your LAGERS benefit, you or your survivor may be eligible for a disability or a survivor benefit. Now, notice it does say may be eligible. So let's go and talk about the eligibility factors and why there's a may be in that sentence. Okay. So it's important to know that we have two different kinds or two classifications of disabilities. So we're going to talk about our disability benefits first, okay? LAGERS defines disabilities in one of two categories. The first one that we're going to talk about is called non-duty related disability. So this is if you are at home, if you're outside of work, anything outside of work, and you become permanently disabled, no longer able to do your job. Okay, that's what non-duty means. To be eligible for a non-duty disability benefit, you have to already have been vested in LAGERS. Okay, so you have to have already worked 60 months or 5 years at a LAGERS entity. All right, so you have to already have been vested. Now, with this disability benefit, the non-duty related, it is calculated just like your retirement would be. Now, if you're familiar with the retirement process, we don't have account balances here. What we do is we calculate your retirement based on your employer's multiplier that they have elected, whereas that is anywhere from 1% to 2%. So we take that number, that percentage, times the number of years or even months of credited service, and multiply that times your final average salary. So that is our formula for determining how much you will receive every month for the rest of your life in retirement. We use that same formula for calculating disability benefits. But in this case, instead of if it's non-duty related, we take just your service credit to the date of your disability. So however many months of service credit you work until the date of your disability, that's what we use to determine how much you will receive every month for the rest of your life during the time that you were permanently disabled. Okay, so it will be whatever your employer's multiplier is at the time of your disability times however many months of credited service you have, or years, whatever it might be, times your final average salary at the time that you become disabled. Okay. Now, it is payable for the member's lifetime upon becoming disabled. Okay. Now, again, this is a process, and I do see there is somebody that is requesting some of that detailed information. I will make sure I will get that to you. I'll make sure I make note of it right now so I don't forget it. Okay. All right. And we are going to talk a little bit about the process. It's just not going to be as detailed as what this information that I'll send you. Okay. All right. So that was non-duty. Now, the difference between that classification, non-duty, is when you're not at work and that disability occurs. Now, duty related is when you are at work and this disability occurs. So you are working and something happens, you become permanently disabled from some kind of injury or something that happened on the job. Okay. So you are permanently unable to perform your current job. All right. That's what it means. Now, it can be mental or physical. So some people are not aware of the mental part of it, but there are mental disabilities that are factored into this duty-related disability claim, the duty-related disability claims. Now, the disability was onset because of the job-related activity or illness. That has to be defined. All right. So let's look here. Oops, so sorry. A little bit further into duty-related disability. As far as the difference between duty and non-duty related, you don't necessarily have to be vested in this case. If it's duty-related, vesting is immediate. Okay, it's like you're automatically vested, and the benefit then is calculated. It's using your current final average salary, but the service credit is as if you worked until the age of 60, regardless of if you're 20 years of age, 30 years of age, 40 years of age. It doesn't matter. Okay, if it's a duty related disability, even if you're law enforcement, if you're fire, it doesn't matter. We will calculate it as if you've worked to the age of 60. Now, if you've already worked past the age of 60, we're not going to take anything away from you. Okay, we will calculate it based on beyond 60, but in this case you're going to be retiring. It's not necessarily going to be considered as disability because you will be beyond retirement age if you're already over 60. Okay, now again, payment is payable for your member's lifetime upon being disabled. All right. Now, there's a special situation for firefighters only that I want to talk about. So this only pertains to firefighters. So everyone else that you don't have information that's relevant to firefighters, you don't have to listen for the next, I believe, 2 slides. But if you are a firefighter or you're listening on behalf of a firefighter, you'll need to know about the Chapter 87. benefits or the Chapter 87 rules. If you have been a firefighter for at least 5 years, okay, so you're only eligible for this qualification if you've been a firefighter for 5 years or more, okay, and have any condition of impairment of health caused by any infectious disease, disease of the lungs or respiratory tract, hypertension, disease of the heart, cancer resulting in total or partial disability or death, the condition will be presumed duty related. And this is Chapter 87 for firefighters. So that's outlined specifically for firefighters, okay? Because they are put into so many situations that they would more likely than not be affected by these infectious diseases, lungs being caused, diseases of the lungs, the respiratory tract, hypertension, diseases of the heart, certain cancers that are outlined in Chapter 87. All of those things are caused by their work, by their line of duty, and that is all outlined and explained in Chapter 87. And so in that case, those conditions are going to automatically be presumed duty related. So it would be a duty related disability. Now, eligibility, you must be a paid member of any county, city, town, fire district, or other governmental unit and have been in service again for 5 or more years. You must have successfully passed a physical exam within 5 years before the time you're claiming disability, okay? And that exam must have shown that you did not have that condition that 5 years previously. Okay, so for the infectious disease claims, the member must have an annual exam with a blood test. And for any cancer claims, you may be denied if there's evidence the cancer was not due to the line of duty or shows condition was contributed to by the voluntary use of tobacco. So again, there's very specific information whenever it comes to the eligibility of what is presumed duty related or not when it comes to firefighters. Okay, if you have any questions about that, again, and you're a firefighter or you're listening on behalf of a firefighter, definitely check out Chapter 87. All right, now let's go on and talk about the actual application process for disability. And like I said before, this is just kind of an overview of the application process. And I already have one person that has asked for a more detailed copy of the information, which I will be sending, okay? So let's look at the first step. The first step to filing for disability is actually, and it sounds odd, but you're going to be filling out an application for retirement. Yes, for retirement. On our retirement application, there is a spot where you can check disability and whether it's non-duty or duty related disability. Okay, because like I said earlier, anytime that we're paying disability benefits, it's going to be calculated as if it is retirement benefit. And so we use the same form as retirement benefits. Okay, and I have another person asking for duty-related disability and anything specific to police. I don't necessarily have any extra information for police at this point, but I will definitely send you the information that I have as far as the process is concerned. Okay, and I'll ask around and see if there's any other information as far as police duty disability. Like I said, you know, I know that there's a Chapter 87 for firefighters. I'll see if there's anything like that out there for police too, while we're looking around at that. Okay, so After you fill out that application for retirement and you've checked whether it was duty related or non-duty related disability, we're going to go through what's called the doctor's review. And in this case, we have a medical committee that reviews your disability claim and either verifies or denies the permanent disability. This medical committee, I know, is made up of at least of 3 doctors. And I know that you get to choose a doctor, and then LAGERS has a doctor, and then LAGERS and you together choose a doctor. And so out of those 3 doctors, there's like 2 out of 3 have to approve it before it can go on. Again, that process is more detailed in that information sheet that I would send you. But first, the overview anyway is first it goes through the doctor's review. And then if it moves on from there, it goes to the LAGERS Disability Committee. The committee then will review the application and approve or deny the claim. And this is made up of LAGERS workers here that are specific for the disability claims that they look over, and they're responsible for looking through everything, looking through the doctor's information and whether they're going to approve or deny, and they will make their final decision and send it on then to the Board of Trustees, whether they approved it or denied it. And then at that time, the Board of Trustees will look at that and say, okay, whether they're going to approve it or deny it at that time. You do have the opportunity to file a what am I trying to say? If you say no, I want to go through this process again. If it's denied, you can say, wait, I want to try to do this again. And why I can't think of what that's called. If anybody knows what I'm trying to think of, please shout out. Help me. Let me give this a thought. Appeal. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jody. Why I couldn't think of that. I'm getting older. Okay, an appeal. You can appeal at any time if it's denied, okay? So if sometimes if you go through and you claim it's duty related, and then it's denied based on duty related, that doesn't mean that the whole disability is denied. It may just be that the duty related part would be denied, and it could go possibly through, excuse me, as non-duty related. But there are other reasons too. You know, if something wasn't legally filled out right, there are all kinds of reasons why you would have to go through the appeal process. But again, that will be outlined in that informational sheet that I will send to anybody who would like that. Okay, so if the Board of Trustees goes ahead and approves that, at that time, your monthly benefits will begin after that board approval. So, and again, that will be lifetime benefits. All right. So that is the main process, the first, like the big process of getting approved. So after you're approved, then you have to consider reevaluation. All right. So once a member is approved for a disability benefit, you must regularly have your disability reevaluated. So let's take a look and see what that looks like here. All right. And it all kind of depends on your age, to be honest. If you're kind of early in the ball game here, you're going to have an annual doctor's exam for the first 5 years. Okay, so for the first 5 years, you'll have to have an annual doctor's exam, and that doctor will have to continually say, yes, you know, they still are disabled, you know, they have to sign off on all the paperwork. And then after that 5 years, then you would only have to go back once every 3 years until you become age eligible for retirement. Okay, once you become age eligible for retirement, you no longer have to go to the doctor. Okay, then it's just assumed that you would have been retired anyway. So first 5 years annually. Then after those 5 years, every 3 years, you have to go back to get reevaluated until you became age eligible for retirement. Age eligible for general employees, if you have normal retirement, is age 60. For police and fire, it's age 55. Now, you may be, if you are public safety and your employer has already elected the age 55 retirement, then for you, it's 55 as well. Otherwise, it's 60 for you as in addition. Okay. Let me see if I have any other questions out here. Okay, I have another person asking for the informational sheet. Does the rule of 80 affect the age 60? Whenever it comes to disability, the rule of 80 pretty much goes out the door because you no longer can accumulate or accrue, I should say, credited service because you'll no longer be working. And so because of that, you're more likely than not going to hit age eligibility for normal retirement before you hit your rule of 80 age first. But whenever it comes to disability, it's going to be based on the normal retirement, if that makes sense. Rule of 80 is thrown out the door. Okay. I hope that makes sense. Any employer that has chosen the rule of 80 and you are choosing disability, or not choosing, but have to go on disability benefits, definitely look and see, because if you are really close to that rule of 80 versus going on disability benefits, I would definitely see what you could do, what would be the best route. Now, when you go and have, with the disability benefits, of course, you're not going to lose any money. And same with, rule of 80. Yeah, you're going to get your full benefits after you reach your rule of 80 age. So if your rule of 80 age is at 55, well, then you're going to get your full benefits at 55. If you're permanently disabled at age 55, you're going to get your full benefits at age 55. So it's kind of hard to determine, what is best for the individual to do disability or rule of 80. It's whether they've already passed their rule of 80 age, whether they're really close, whatever it might be. I would say if you do have rule of 80 and you're looking into disability, definitely give us a call and we'll take a look and see what would be best on your behalf. Okay. Okay, now there is a question with the reevaluation exams. Are the reevaluation exams with the regular doctor or a designated doctor with LAGERS? And is it the member's expense? That is a fantastic question. I honestly don't know if it's at the member's expense. I believe I've heard before that it is the member's doctor. But that is something I will find out and let you know. In fact, that is something that I should find out and let everybody know. So after this presentation, I will go on my fact-finding mission and find that information out and make sure that I get everybody that information. Okay, so again, I'll find out about if those re-eval exams can be doctor of your choice, and if that is at the member's expense. Okay, good question. Okay, and there is somebody that has gone through this process and was told that their doctor could complete the re-exam at the member's expense. Okay, good information. Okay. All right. We're going to talk just a little bit about survivor benefits. Survivor benefits are not as detailed, obviously, as the disability benefits, but they kind of work just the same as far as the calculation is concerned. There are two categories: non-related death and, or, I'm sorry, non-duty related death and duty related death. So let's talk about the non-duty related death. In this case, the death occurs non-job related. You're outside of the job. Again, you have to have been vested for this to kick in. It is calculated based on the current service credit to date of the death. All right. Now, the duty related death, this one is whenever it is the death occurs due to job related activities. The vesting is immediate, so just like the disability, and the benefit again is calculated with service credit extended to age 60. Now, in both situations, for the survivor benefit, LAGERS survivor benefits are paid firstly for surviving spouse. Okay, so regardless of who you have as the beneficiary, it is already mandated that LAGERS survivor benefits are paid to spouse first. If there's no surviving spouse, then it's paid to dependent children. Now, dependent children are defined as age 18, or if they go on to post-secondary school, it's age 23. Or if they get married before that, then they're considered independent. But then after they are age 18 or 23, there's nothing more payable for the dependent children. Now, for the spouse, it is a lifetime benefit. Now, what the spouse would receive is approximately 60% of the member's benefit. And this is based on what we consider option A of our retirement payment options. Okay, so that equates to about 60% of what the member would have received. So that's what the spouse will receive. 60% of the member's benefit is what the spouse would receive, payable upon the death of the member for a lifetime of the surviving spouse. Now, again, if the death was non-duty, the spouse must have been married 2 years prior to death or onset of the fatal disease, unless it was an accident. Okay, so if it's non-duty, there's another rule, if you will. If it's non-duty related, the spouse has to have been married by for at least 2 years due to the onset of the fatal disease that caused the death or prior to the death itself. Okay, unless it was an accident. Okay, so, and I think that, I think that's just mainly to prevent if somebody knows that they're going to pass and gets married for the benefit, we don't want that to happen. Okay. Now, as far as the dependents are concerned, there are factors that need to be considered when talking about any dependent children. If there's no surviving spouse, we have 60% that will go to dependent children. Now, that means 60% total, not that each child will receive an additional 60%. We have 60%, it's divided evenly upon all dependent children. So if you have one dependent child, it will be 60% of the member's benefit that will go to that child. If you have 2 dependent children, 30% to each, and 3 dependent children, 20% to each, as this graphic shows. Okay. So once one of them then becomes independent, then it will be recalculated accordingly until they all become independent. Okay. And are there questions on that? I'm not seeing any on the survivor benefits. Okay. Now, if there's no spouse and no surviving spouse, and if there are no dependent children payable, then there's nothing else that's payable unless, unless, unless the employee, the member, has been paying in contributions throughout their employment. So if an employee has been paying in the 2, 4, or 6% contributions throughout time, we do keep track of that here at Loggers. Okay. So we make sure that that comes back to either the member in some way, shape, or form, or the member's beneficiary on file. Okay. Regardless of what happens. Hopefully, what happens is that's the first money that's payable to the member when they retire in the form of monthly benefits. However, if they were to pass away and there's no surviving spouse, no dependent children, then in that case, it would go to that money that they had been putting in all this time. That money alone would go to the beneficiary on file. And then after that, that would be the end of it. Okay. So if they have not been paying in all this time and there's no spouse or dependent children, then there's nothing else payable. And all of those assets for that employee would stay within the employee's assets or employees fund. So that would then go to fund other retirees at some point. Okay. All right. So that is the Loggers Disability and Survivor Benefit Overview. Again, it was just a basic overview. We didn't get real detailed. I will go back after we get off online here and make sure I send everybody who asked for it the informational sheet. I'm going to find the answer for sure. I mean, we do have somebody who said that they could get the re-exam from their own doctor at their own expense, but I want to get clarification on that for sure. Are there any other questions that we might have out there before we go? Let's take a look. Okay, there is a question specifically about getting taxed. But I'm not sure if there's I'm not sure what the 4th month is referring to. The question was, if I choose to get payout on the 4th month, is that amount taxed? If so, do you know the tax percentage? So I know that any kind of payment, monthly payment that we provide to our members is taxed. There is now, if you have been paying the 2, 4, or 6% each month throughout your career, that then there's a portion of what you get paid every month by loggers that's not taxed, but otherwise it will be taxed. Now, state and federal taxes are involved. There is a state public pension exemption. So you would want to look into that. I'm not sure how the disability part, if you're getting a disability from Social Security, that may eliminate the exemption for state taxes. So that's something you would definitely have to ask your tax professional about. Okay. Okay. And then there was another question about the benefit calculation for duty-related disability. So basically, with duty-related disability, this particular individual was told that it's 60% of retirement at 60 years. And that's not necessarily true. It is dependent on your employer's multiplier, okay? So if your employer has a 2% multiplier, and basically what happens, let me just explain what happens with duty-related disability again. With duty-related disability, we calculate your benefit as if you've worked to age 60. Okay. And all of the calculations are calculated just like this. Whatever your employer's multiplier is, anywhere from 1% to 2%, times the number of years of service credit you have. And if we calculate it as if you've worked to age 60, then that's going to be more than just to the age of you when you became disabled, times your final average salary. Okay. So it is very much dependent on what the multiplier is, what your final average salary is at the time you become disabled, okay, and how many years of service credit you will have in at the point of disability, and then adding on however many more until you would be age 60. Okay, so it's not a clear cut 60% of retirement at 60 years. It's just if it's duty related, we calculate it as if you've worked to age 60. Yes, the question is, can we get a copy of the PowerPoint presentation? I will definitely send that out to everybody when I get answers to those questions that I've promised, and any of that, that informational sheet as well. I might go ahead and send out that informational sheet to everybody, just so everybody has it. Okay. Good question. Another good question. For police and fire employee, they can retire at age 55. So that duty-related disability then that's calculated to age 60, is that still come into play, or do they just calculate it to age 55? Great question. Yeah, we still go to 60. Even though you can retire at age 55, it's still in state statute that if it's a duty related disability, we calculate it as if you work to age 60, even if you're fire or police. It's another good question. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for attending. Okay, very good. That is correct. We said with trying to explain that duty related working to the age of 60, we don't take 60% of anything. You know, we don't calculate 60% of anything. We take full everything. So yes, you're right. That is not correct. The 60%. No, very good. All right. Lucas, I'm sure we are related. The Bollinger name isn't out there too much, so I'm sure we are. I'll have to look a little bit further at some point. Very good. I want to thank you all for joining me today. It is Finally, fall weather. I'm so excited. I don't know if I really belong in Missouri or anywhere south of Missouri. I belong a little bit further north, I'm pretty sure. I'm enjoying the cooler weather. I hope everybody else does too this weekend. But stay warm if you don't. Enjoy cool weather. Um, if you have any questions about disability or survivor benefits, when I send this information to you via email, don't hesitate to ask me those questions. Like I said, if I don't have the answers to those questions, I'll make sure I get them and I'll get those answers to you. Okay. I hope you have a wonderful day and a wonderful weekend coming up. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye-bye.